I would like to thank everyone for their support over the last 7.5 years since this channel begun. As now, the K.A. Bullets Piston Cup YouTube channel has 500 videos!
K.A. Bullets YouTube channel.
Hurry up, now tell us why you're here.
Ken Burnout would drop out of the Piston Cup before this race to his local state league in Idaho. And then, Jay Corner would stop being Kane Carfine's crew chief. And Jay Corner would become Chris Rovertire's crew chief. I wonder how that will change things. And then, an anonymous Piston Cup fan, if you watched the 1,000 subscriber special, you'll know who he is, said this. And then, some Piston Cup fans would cheer when Speedy Comet did not crash in qualifying. Unfortunately, Alex Food is unlucky as he'll be out for 6 races and Dominic Carcycle will be out for 7 races, both because of hard crashes that they had during qualifying. Now onto the starting grid, where Brick Yardley will start at pole position with Cal Weathers to his outside. Row 2 has Dale Earnhardt Jr., who once won 4 races in a row at this track, and Speedy Comet. Row 3 has Lightning McQueen, the defending Piston Cup champion, and Jimmy Cables to his outside. Row 4 has James Garrison and Chip Gearings to his outside. Now on to Row 5. Where's Row 5? Bobby Swift and Jack DePost will be starting in this row, and behind them will be Phil Tankson and Martin Carx Jr. I wonder how they'll do this race. And on to Row 7. We've got TG Castlenut, who hopes to win this race, and Tony Gasworth to his outside. Row 8 has Rex Reveler, who's on a team of his own, and Jamarcus Cakehart to his outside. Row 9 has another Gearson Motorsports racer, Billy Carjoy, with Todd Marcus to his outside. Now behind them in Row 10, we've got Maury Clutchburn and Ralph Carlo. Both have been Piston Cup racers for quite a while now. And now onto Row 11, with Reb Meeker and Sebastian Silva to his outside. And on to Row 12, where we've got Doug Throttleman the Jumper and Kyle Carson. I wonder how he'll do this race. Now on to Apples Racer in Row 13, Matthew Overdrive with Kevin Carvick to his outside. Row 14 has Bruce Miller and Paunchy Wipeout, who thinks that he will win again. Will he win again? Now on to Row 15, where Cal Williams will be starting on the inside and Rev Roaches to the outside. Row 16 has 2 blue cars, Pitbull Speed Racer and Ricky Axel. Row 17 has Brian Sparks and Ernie Gearson, who will hopefully not have an engine failure this race. Row 18 has 2 green cars, who are not mean, Bobby Rotesta and Darren Leadfoot. Row 19 has Floyd Movelhill and Carl Clutchin, who did not do well during qualifying. Row 20 has Tommy Highbanks and Lane Locke. I wonder how they'll do this race. Row 21 has 2 racers making their first start this season, Chris Rovertire and Lucas Marquez. And starting in 43rd is another car making his first start this season, Ryan Rodages. These 12 cars, among many others, failed to qualify for this race. Now to the race, where Brick Yardley would lead the first 14 laps of the race before losing the lead to Cal Weathers. He would lead for 14 laps, but on lap 20, Doug Throttleman would jump over Lightning McQueen. But on lap 28, Brick Yardley would retake the lead, leading for 10 more laps before Lightning McQueen would take the lead. He would lead until lap 51, where he'd lose the lead to Jimmy Cables, who would lead for 5 laps before losing the lead to Carl Clutchin off of pit cycles. But he would only lead for about 100 yards before Phil Tankson would take the lead. He would lead all the way until lap 71, where Rex Reveler would take the lead. He would lead for 11 laps before losing the lead to Chip Gearings, who would only lead on lap 82. But then, Doug Throttleman would jump over Chip Gearings, and then James Garrison would take the lead as a result. He would lead for 2 laps before his teammate Jamarcus Cakehart would take the lead. He would lead for 4 laps before Lane Locke would take the lead off of pit cycles. But only around 30 yards later, Darren Leadfoot would take the lead. He would lead all the way until lap 97 before Reb Meeker would take the lead for the first time this race, leading all the way until lap 99. Bobby Swift would take the lead on lap 99 and lose the lead a few yards later to Todd Marcus. Todd Marcus would only lead for about 4 yards before Lightning McQueen would take the lead. He would keep the lead for nearly a mile before Sebastian Silva would take the lead from him. He would only lead for around 50 yards before Kevin Karvik would take the lead. He would lead the field until lap 100, but on lap 103, Brick Yardley would take the lead once again. He would lead for 3 more laps until lap 106, where Speedy Comet would quickly take the lead and lead for only a few yards before Kevin Karvik would retake the lead. He would lead until lap 109, when Speedy Comet would retake the lead. He would lead all the way until lap 116 this time, before Kevin Karvik would retake the lead. He would lead for 2 more laps before Speedy Comet would take the lead once again. He wouldn't lead for that long, but he would lead the field until lap 119. Kevin Karvik would take the lead once again, shortly before turn 1, leading until lap 120, where Lightning McQueen would retake the lead. He would lead for 15 more laps before Speedy Comet would take the lead once again, leading the field until lap 136, before Bobby Swift would take the lead once again off of pit cycles. Later in lap 136, Kyle Carson would take the lead. He would lead until lap 137, where Jimmy Cables would take the lead shortly before turn 1. He wouldn't lead for very long because Speedy Comet would take the lead once again. He would lead for most of lap 137, but shortly before the lap ended, Bobby Swift would retake the lead. He would lead until lap 138, where Kyle Carson would take the lead once again. He would lead until lap 145, where Cal Weathers, the other car with the number 42, would take the lead once again. But Speedy Comet would retake the lead on lap 151. He wouldn't lead for very long because he would get loose, and then, as he was first as of lap 151, he would accidentally wreck Lane Locke, Bobby Swift, Bobby Rotesta, Bruce Miller, Carl Clutchin, Phil Tankson, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Ryan Rodages, Lucas Marquez, and Chris Rovertire. Why did you have to get loose? Ricky Axel would take the lead after the restart, but he would quickly lose the lead to Cal Weathers, who would lead all the way until lap 153. On lap 52, Speedy Comet would be out because he hit the wall really hard. Darren Leadfoot would take the lead on lap 153 and lead for 3 laps, but on lap 155, Doug Throttleman would jump over Reb Meeker. On lap 156, Kevin Karvik would retake the lead. He would lead for 1 more lap before Chip Gearings would take the lead for himself, leading until lap 165, but he would be first as of that lap, where he would accidentally wreck. Who does he accidentally wreck? Matthew Overdrive, Ralph Carlo, and himself. I feel bad for these guys. Darren Leadfoot would take the lead after the restart and lead all the way until lap 171, where Rex Revler would take the lead once again and lead for 12 more laps before Lightning McQueen would take the lead for himself once again, leading for 9 more laps before Cal Weathers would retake the lead. He would only lead for around 200 yards because Maury Clutchburn would take the lead soon after. He would lead until lap 195, but Ernie Gearson would be out on lap 195 because he got too tired. Darren Leadfoot would once again take the lead after the restart and lead until lap 203. On lap 203, Rex Revler and Kyle Carson would accidentally wreck each other out. I feel bad for them. Lightning McQueen would take the lead after the restart and lead until lap 209, where Reb Meeker, his friend, would take the lead on lap 209, and he would lead for 3 laps before Darren Leadfoot would retake the lead. He would lead for 5 more laps before Martin Carrix Jr. would take the lead off of pit cycles on lap 217. After the pit stops were done, Jimmy Cables would take the lead and lead for 11 laps before losing the lead to his teammate, Cal Williams, who would lead on lap 228. Later that lap, Sebastian Silva would retake the lead. He would lead the field until lap 229, but shortly before turn 2, Pitbull Speed Racer would take the lead. But on lap 230, his teammate Jack DePost would take the lead. He would lead until lap 232, where Darren Leadfoot would take the lead once again. He would lead until lap 235, before, surprisingly, Floyd Mulvihill would take the lead. He would lead for 4 laps, before Jamarcus Capehart would take the lead from him. He would lead until lap 241, before Jimmy Cables would take the lead once again, leading until lap 244, where once again, Darren Leadfoot would take the lead. Darren Leadfoot would lead for 4 more laps before losing the lead to Cal Weathers, who would only lead off of pit cycles. After the pit stops were done, Reb Meeker would take the lead. He would lead into lap 249 before Doug Throttleman would jump over Reb Meeker to take the lead. And after Doug Throttleman would take the lead, he would not lead for very long, because later in lap 249, Billy Carjoy would take the lead, leading the field until lap 253, where his teammate Jamarcus Cakart would take the lead once again. He would lead until lap 255, where Brick Yardley would take the lead once again, leading until lap 257, where Pitbull Speed Racer would take the lead once again. Only a few yards later on lap 257, Ricky Axel would take the lead. He would lead for about 200 yards before Lightning McQueen would take the lead once again. He would lead the field until lap 260, where Darren Leadfoot would take the lead shortly before turn 2, and lead until lap 262, where Paunchy Wipeout would take the lead, somehow. About 100 yards later, Jamarcus Cakart would retake the lead. He would lead for 5 more laps before his teammate and boss James Garrison would take the lead on lap 267, and lead until lap 270, where Sebastian Silva would take the lead off of pit cycles. After the pit stops were done, Brick Yardley would retake the lead. He would lead until lap 272, but Doug Throttleman would jump over Cal Weathers on lap 270. Darren Leadfoot would take the lead on lap 272 once again, and lead the field into the next lap before Brick Yardley would retake the lead on lap 273. Then, on lap 277, Ricky Axel would retake the lead. He would lead for around 300 yards before Lightning McQueen would take the lead once again. He would lead until lap 278 before Darren Leadfoot would take the lead from him once again, leading all the way until lap 281 before Billy Carjoy would retake the lead. He would lead for 2 more laps before Jack DePost would take the lead once again, leading until lap 283. But on lap 283, Jimmy Cables would take the lead once again, leading for 2 more laps before Cal Weathers would take the lead once again on lap 285. He would lead for 3 more laps before Lightning McQueen would take the lead once again, leading for 10 more laps before Reb Meeker would take the lead. He would lead into lap 299 as Murray Clutchburn would take the lead as a result of a big push. But this big push wasn't enough to stop Darren Leadfoot from taking the lead later in the lap. But on lap 302, Lightning McQueen would retake the lead. He would lead for 4 more laps before Cal Weathers would take the lead once again. He would lead into lap 308, where Jimmy Cables would make a pass on the inside to take the lead. He would lead into lap 314 before Kevin Carvick would take the lead once again, leading the field into lap 315. But Martin Carx Jr. would take the lead off of pit cycles on lap 315. Brian Sparks would take the lead later during pit cycles. But after the pit stops were done, Kevin Carvick would retake the lead. He would lead all the way until lap 317, where Darren Leadfoot would take the lead once again. He would lead for 9 more laps. But Doug Throttleman would jump over Darren Leadfoot on lap 326. And this would lead to Doug Throttleman taking the lead once again, leading for 5 laps this time. Cal Weathers would take the lead from Doug Throttleman on lap 331 and lead for 4 more laps before Lightning McQueen would take the lead once again. He would lead until lap 339 before TG Castlenut would take the lead, leading until lap 340. Kevin Carvick would retake the lead on lap 340, but only a mile later, Jimmy Cables would take the lead once again. He would lead until lap 342, where Reb Meeker would retake the lead. He would lead until lap 344, when Todd Marcus would take the lead. He would lead for 9 laps before Reb Meeker would retake the lead once again, leading until lap 355. Somehow, Tommy Highbanks would take the lead on lap 355, and then he would lose the lead to Lightning McQueen, who would lead all the way until lap 379. Cal Weathers would take the lead on lap 379 and lead for 2 laps. But Todd Marcus would be 3rd as of lap 380, where he accidentally wrecks Lightning McQueen, Cal Weathers, Sebastian Silva, Jack DePost, and himself. I feel bad for everyone that was in this crash. Brian Sparks would take the lead after the restart on lap 381, and then Brick Yardley would take the lead shortly after, leading all the way until lap 392, where Reb Meeker would take the lead. He would lead the field into the next lap, but on lap 393, Darren Leadfoot would take the lead. He would lead until lap 399 before Reb Meeker would take the lead shortly before turn 4, but Shortly before the white flag, Darren Leadfoot would take the lead and take the white flag. Now onto the final lap, where Billy Carjoy would take the lead, but he would lose the lead to Reb Meeker, who would take the lead just before turn 4, and then go on to win the 2016 N2O Cola 400, getting his second career victory. Darren Leadfoot would finish second this race. Jimmy Cables would finish third, Doug Throttleman fourth, Brick Yardley fifth, Tony Gasworth sixth, Ricky Axel seventh, TG Castlenut eighth, Billy Carjoy ninth, and Jamarcus Kakart rounding out the top 10, and Murray Clutchburn is the last car to finish on the lead lap this race, finishing 21st. I already mentioned the top 10, but Darren Leadfoot and Billy Carjoy were unlucky not to win this race. It was a really back and forth race. Reb Meeker deserved the win in the end. But who missed out on a top 10? James Garrison just barely missed out on getting a top 10. Brian Sparks, Martin Carricks Jr., Ponchi Wipeout, and Kevin Carvick round out the top 15. Rev Rodages gets a lead lap finish, finishing 16th this race, his best this season. Cal Williams, Tommy Highbanks, Pitbull Speed Racer, and Floyd Mulvihill round out the top 20, and Murray Clutchburn is the last car to finish on the lead lap. Lightning McQueen and Cal Weathers will finish 22nd and 23rd respectively. Sebastian Silva and Jack DePost round out the top 25. Todd Marcus will finish 26th this race. Rex Revler and Kyle Carson finish 27th and 28th. Ernie Gearson, despite his early exit from the race, still finishes 29th ahead of Matthew Overdrive, Ralph Carlo, Chip Gearings, Speedy Comet, Bobby Swift, and Lane Locke. Bobby Rotesta misses out on the top 35, finishing 36th. And I feel bad for Chris Rovertire, Ryan Rodages, and Lucas Marquez, all finishing in the bottom 3 spots in their first starts this season. Here are the point standings after 14 races. Lightning McQueen and Cal Weathers are still the top 2, with Bobby Swift and Brick Yardley being 3rd and 4th. Jimmy Cable still rounding out the top 5. Kevin Carvick, Martin Carricks Jr., Phil Tankson, James Garrison, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. rounding out the top 10, all regularly qualifying for races. And Jack DePost around 40 points behind 10th place. Carl Clutchin, Ricky Axel, Doug Throttleman the Jumper, and Reb Meeker, this week's winner in the top 15. TG Castlenut, Kyle Carson, Jamarcus Kakart finally in the top 20. Murray Clutchburn and Billy Carjoy form the top 20.
Remember to press the notifications button, which goes ring, ring, ring after you press it. And lightning strikes back, and that's as if you subscribed, of course. And thank you for watching this entire video.
A lot of people watching this video are thinking, finally, it's out! I've been waiting so long for this video! I'm sorry that it took this long for the video to come out, but the advent calendar has been dividing my attention across multiple videos, which is why this video took a lot longer than it should have taken. And also don't forget that iMovie essentially erased all of my progress. And I also feel extra bad for all of you whose favorite racer failed to qualify for this race. The Piston Cup is a very competitive league. And about the point standings, Kurt Busch Tire is 4 points behind the top 20, but it's not like he's going to be doing anything anymore this season, as he's basically quit for the season. And also, I can say with 100% confidence that there will be at least one more Piston Cup race video for the 2016 Piston Cup season during the Advent Calendar. And since the Advent Calendar is still going on, there will continue to be videos every day up until Christmas. Although, for the first time in this channel's history, I will probably post a video between Boxing Day and December 30th, because the 2016 Piston Cup season will not be done before Christmas. Stay tuned for the 15th race of the 2016 Piston Cup season coming out soon enough, and a new video coming out tomorrow. Unfortunately, the 2022 Russian invasion of Ukraine is still going on. The Ukrainian people just wanted to live in peace and have freedom. But this common dream was ruined by the tyrant and bully, Vladimir Putin, who began this unjustified war over 1,000 days ago. Currently, Vladimir Putin's tyranny illegally rules over Crimea, the Donbass, and parts of the Kharkiv, Zaporizhia, and Kherson oblasts. But not everything is going Vladimir Putin's way, as Ukraine controls parts of Russia's Kursk Oblast. Vladimir Putin, why couldn't you leave Ukraine alone? Did you forget that Russia is the biggest country in the world? But Ukraine's odds of victory get lower every day because of dwindling supplies. We here at the Cable It's Piston Cup YouTube channel hope that Ukraine's odds of victory do not go down further, as we stand with Ukraine in opposition to Vladimir Putin's tyranny. And also recognize Ukraine's true borders as shown by this map. Slava Ukraini! Heroyam slava! Nechai Shvitsya Ukraini permoha! Glory to Ukraine! Glory to the heroes! May Ukraine be granted victory very soon.